are going to create our first program. So the goals of this video and this lesson are for you to check that your compiler and your text editor are correctly installed on your computer. Then we are going to experience the typical steps that are going to be involved in every single program that you will write for this course. And then finally, we will write, compile, and execute our very first, although simple, program, and that will check your system. So the steps that we are going to take. First, we need to describe what the program needs to do. You cannot write a program if you do not have in your mind what the program needs to do. So in our case, we are going to write a little program that just says hello world. Our first program is going to display the text hello world in a console application. Here's how you run it. Double click. The program runs. It says hello world in a console application. I press enter and the program ends. So now let's create our source code. So we will use a text editor. Notepad++ is the one I've picked for us, although you can use other text editors. Double click on it, do a file new if you don't have a blank file, create a new file. Before we type in our instructions, let's set the language to be C. So language, C, and select C. This will save the file with a .c extension, and it will also color code our instructions, which will make it easier for us humans to read what we have written. So we're going to type in our instructions, our source code right here. I already have it done. Here it is. You need to pause your video playback and type in what you see here exactly like you see it into your text editor. When you are done typing it in, save your program. It should save. Mine's called first_program.c. It should save with the C extension since we set our language to be C. You need to remember where on your computer you saved this file. So, okay, go ahead and pause now and type it in. Now let's take our human-readable, text-based source code and convert it into something that the machine understands, or the computer machine understands. That means we are going to compile it into ones and zeros, that it's stored somewhere on your computer, and the computer will understand the instructions. We won't anymore, but the computer will. So I told you to remember where you stored your program. Mine is stored under Documents, Classes, EE160, and then a Programs folder. And there it is, first_program.c. So notice it has the .c extension, and my computer does recognize that as a C source file since we have already installed the GCC compiler. So I can't do anything with it right now. I have to actually open up a command prompt window in order to tell the computer to compile this source code into machine language. So how do we do that? If you are on a Windows 8 machine, you have to go to the tiles, 8 or 8.1, and you have to find the command prompt because it's not one of the given tiles by default. So I do a search, then type in CMD. There's the command prompt. Click on it. It opens up the command prompt window. So notice what directory I'm in right now, user/Georgian, since Georgian is my name. And I need to find where I stored the source code file that I made. So how can we do that? How can we operate in this window? So you can type dir for directory, and it will tell you what's in the Georgian directory. In my case, I see desktop, my contacts, downloads, favorites, music, pictures. I do not see my FirstProgram.c. So I want to drill down into the folder structure, the directory structure, and find my file. So the first thing I'm going to do is drill down one level. So I say CD for change directory, and I knew it was in Documents. I don't remember what was in Documents, so dir, I can see what's in Documents. I see a folder or a directory called Classes. Let's see what's in Classes. CD Classes. Change directory to Classes. Look at the directory, dir. I see EE160 is one of the folders there. Change directory, CD, EE160. I'm in the EE160 folder right now. I don't remember what all's in it. dir. I see my programs directory. That's where I stored that FirstProgram.c. I see one there. There's another .c. Okay, so let's go into that directory. Change directory to Programs. dir. And sure enough, there is, right there, FirstProgram.c. Now dir is a command that works, that shows you the directories as well as the files that are in your current directory. You can also say ls, which is a Linux style command, and you just see what the files are. So there's FirstProgram.c. So ls or dir. Okay, so now I need to compile that program. This is what we type to compile the program. So gcc FirstProgram .c space .o for make object code, and then what you want to call the final program. So I want to call it first _ program. I do not need to put any extension on it. When it compiles, it will put the extension on automatically. Now, before I hit enter, provided I have not typed in anything incorrectly in my source code, this should compile. If I have typed anything incorrectly, put a comma in instead of a semicolon, any kind of syntax error, it will not compile and I'll get an error message. So let's press enter. Aha! So I didn't get any error message. This means it compiled. Let's just see if it compiled. Let's say dir. So now in my directory, I see there's my source code still, the FirstProgram.c, but now I have a FirstProgram.exe. This is my executable. I showed you at the beginning of this video that you could, in the Windows folder, in the Windows GUIs, the Windows, you could double click on a .exe file and it would run. I can also run it from the command prompt, so this is how I would do it. I would just say first, forgive my slow typing today, I actually have an injured left arm. It's in a cast, so I can't type very well. First program. Just type first program, just like that, enter. And there the program ran. It said, hello world, and I am in the command prompt. Now its cursor is blinking, it's waiting for something from me. We wrote that into the program so that it would wait for some kind of a user input before it continued or exited the program. We will talk about that more in another session. So press enter. I'm returned back to my command prompt. Now let's say I don't want to be in this directory anymore. I want to go back up to where I was. So you can say cd space ... and I will go up a directory, continuing cd space ... and you can keep going up directories one at a time using that notation. Recapping, this is what we did in our steps to program. we described what the program needed to do, which was display hello world in the console. We wrote the source code in Notepad++. Then we compiled the source code into an executable program, and then we ran the program. So, a few other notes. If you are running Windows 7 instead of Windows 8 or 8.1, the way you get to the command prompt is to go down to the Start menu, type in CMD, and the command prompt will come up. Windows 8 or higher, you had to search for it, as I showed you in the exercise. I also didn't really talk much about it, but you can use command prompt, which is an older way that Windows lets you work in a text-based environment on a Windows machine. Windows now, or Microsoft now, would prefer you to use a thing called Windows PowerShell, and there is a tile for Windows PowerShell in Windows 8 or 8.1. It looks very similar. They actually run the same commands, but PowerShell has a lot more commands than the command prompt does. They are actually called commandlets and not commands anymore. I will talk a little bit more about Windows PowerShell in the future. It is a lot more Linux-like, but that will be a different lesson. So compile the source code was our last step. In case you didn't write it down, here it is again, exactly what you have to type. The program you're compiling is the .c file, and the program you are making, I called it FirstProgram, but I could have called it anything I wanted. I didn't have to call it the same as the source code. Then we executed the program. If you are in the command prompt, you just typed the executable file's name, FirstProgram, and the program ran. If you are in the folder environment, which is the GUI, by the way means graphical user interface. If you are in the normal Windows visual type environment, you double click on the FirstProgram.exe file. And if you are in PowerShell, you would run the program by first typing a / and then FirstProgram. This is a Linux notation. Well, I hope you have converted your human readable source code into machine code and successfully executed your first program today. But if you are stumped right now and you need help, please email me, phone me, or text me. If you email me, please include your source code as an attachment so I can look at what you've done. That would probably be most helpful. Okay now. Bye for now.